Hello, comrades. Today we reshape the course of history. We bring Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, and Leon Trotsky to 1836 Russia, where we will usher in the bright red dawn of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Hello there everyone and welcome back to the channel. It's Mellow Scott here, and today I'm going to be showcasing some of the new features of the Voice of the People DLC, as well as some of the features in the new 1.3 update. The plan for this game is to form the USSR and expand into the region that it owned, as well as expand into the region of the Iron Curtain in Europe. And we're going to be doing that all the way back in 1836, but with the help of a couple of famous communist agitators. Firstly, we have our boy Karl Marx. We're going to get him from this event. And now we've got Vladimir Lenin. He has just returned from exile in the future. And last but not least, we have another member of the vanguard, Leon Trotsky, who we're going to get through this event here. And yes, I may have used some of the console commands to get this up and running. I did think it would make for a fun playthrough. So if we go into the politics tab now, we can see that there's this new section here, and that gives you access to agitators, which allow you to influence some of the political groups here that were quite difficult to do in the base game. For example, if we jump in here to Vladimir Lenin, he has the vanguardist ideology, and therefore by having the trade unionists be put into power, we will get access to all of these stances as well. So it gives us a lot more control over what laws we can enact by using these agitators. I think firstly we should try and form a dictatorship of the proletariat using Leon Trotsky, because he is a member of the Armed Forces Interest Group but is also a vanguardist, and we should be able to get the armed forces into power fairly quickly because they are not a marginalized group. Now, to start off the game, a good idea would normally be to try and pass the Corn Laws in order to erode the power of the Gentry Assembly. But the problem is that requires grain to be 25% more expensive than the base price. And if we look at the market, we are crashing the grain market with so much grain because most of our pops are basically employed in some terrible subsistence farms like this, and that is producing a lot of grain. So we're going to have to try and build up our industry a bit and get them out of these subsistence farms if we want a chance of passing that. But in the meantime, what we can do is try and go for some of these other laws here to get our economy going. Because we have so much wood, I am going to go ahead and expand our construction sector significantly until we end up a little bit in the red. I'm going to be targeting first these two provinces, which have around 400,000 unemployment. So let's go ahead and build a huge number of construction sectors here and here. I'm also going to use decrees to boost up where we're going to be stacking industries in places like Moscow. And likewise, we will do the same for places where we'll be stacking lots of agriculture. Now our agitators are going to push us towards isolationism, meaning that we need to secure our supply chains, dye being the first thing that we're not going to have access to. So we're going to have to militarily look for provinces here that can provide us with some natural dye production until we get the technology. So we're going to make our way down there, and we're going to open the game by conquering Bukhara. And merely a few seconds in, you can already see our agitators have created a political movement to enact isolationism. So let's go ahead and change our trade policy. Bukhara stands no match for the advances of the Russian army. Isolationism passing through without a hitch, we are now on to enacting homesteading, a new law in 1.3, which will empower the rural folk rather than the landlords. So now it's time to invade Afghanistan. When we go state atheism, we're going to lose access to religion as the opium of the masses. So why not get our population some actual opium? Okay, now our construction is up to around 50. I'm going to start spamming out organised agricultural buildings rather than the subsistence farms. That will give our peasants at least a somewhat decent wage. Still getting a lot of shortages because of our isolationist policy. We do need to make sure our supply lines are well established. So we need to go and make sure we've got a lot of iron mines and make sure we've got a few apple orchards up there to get the sugar. Now, in order to get homesteading through, we are going to need the favour of the Gentry Assembly, because if they become angry at us, they will leave the government, putting our government to be illegitimate, and then it will stall the law. And then we'll end up with a civil war that we can't win just yet. Pumping out loads of farms increases the wages of our workers, and that means more tax revenue, which we can then invest back into construction. Why rely on the free markets when we, the government, can fine-tune the economy to meet the needs of our people? Balochistan falling to our armed forces now, securing that valuable dye production. To get the Gentry Assembly on our side, I'm going to enact laws that they favour to get that up to around 20, so that when we go for homesteadings, they remain appeased. So we're going to go dedicate police force, and then we're also going to ban women from the workplace. So that lets us pass homesteading through without a hitch, and that will eventually erode the power of the landowners quite substantially over time. The next thing we need to do is seize the means of production using command economy. And yes, to make sure that this playthrough was actually possible, I did make sure that was unlocked at the start of the game. It's usually locked behind a very late game tech, but hey, that's the power of communism. So to get command economy through, I think it's about time that we unleash the crimson tide of revolution. Passing that, as well as council republics, is likely not to go down very well. So we make sure to develop up the provinces over in Siberia, which we will likely be able to take control over during a revolution, and make sure they have key access to the supply chains that we need, and crucially our arms industries. Fortunately, by waiting a bit of the time for the Gentry Assembly's approval to go back up, we're able to easily pass through command economy without bloodshed. I boost up our taxes and introduce some consumption taxes with our excess authority in order to build even more construction. Being a little bit cheeky, we use the power of the state to defund the military in the capital and the surrounding provinces. But over in Siberia, we boost up munitions plants and small arms factories in order to boost the forces of the Bolsheviks. We try to stay ahead on military techs, and with command economy putting the means of production firmly within the hands of the state, we begin to boost construction to ungodly levels. Implementing state atheism allows us to get through public schools, each pupil receiving a brand new copy of the Communist Manifesto. We have managed to boost up the power of the intelligentsia in relation to the other groups. Now it's time for the workers of the world to unite as we implement council republics. The time has come for the proletariat to rise, releasing themselves from the shackles of the bourgeoisie that bind them. In the heart of Mother Russia, we have nothing to lose but our chains. So we muster our forces from Siberia and launch an all-out assault towards the capital. They initially meet with some resistance, but eventually they're able to break through, paving the road to Moscow. The Red Army, fueled by the fire of revolution, prepares to storm the gates of Moscow, and with the spirit of their fallen comrades fueling their resolve, they march onwards, taking the capital, a monumental triumph for the solidarity of the working class. The USSR is formed, and Trotsky as agitator pushes through a new technocracy. We now seek to expand our sphere of influence and bring glorious communism by supporting the solidarity of workers around the globe. It takes some time for our economy to recover from the civil war, but it is not long before we can expand our construction once again, building industries that massively increase our tax revenue, using the proceeds to fund a huge standing army, which we use to puppet Moldova. Graduated taxation giving us another great boon. We continue to conscript up to 1,000 battalions, so that we can prudently declare war on the Ottomans so that they release the Balkan states. We then pounce on and puppet Wallachia, no one stepping in to prevent the Red Army from marching through their streets. Then go after the Qing Empire to expand our influence in Manchuria, while also holding off the Germans attacking from the Western Front. We then seek to dismantle the bulwark that is the Austrian Empire, preventing our expansion into Eastern Europe. Forces with the French, Scandinavians and Italians in an effort to push back against the Red Tide. Our puppet states in the Balkans allowing to push forward on multiple fronts. Our newly constructed navy crushing the enemy in the Mediterranean, allowing us to land a naval invasion in Croatia. The war becomes one of attrition, and it is up to the nation whose economy can withstand it the longest, the Soviet juggernaut managing to weather the storm. One after one, the Austrian alliances crumble, and eventually we're able to divide the empire in two. Hungary looking ripe to become a new Soviet puppet, which we strike at the heart of 5 years later. With our overwhelming numbers and upgraded weaponry, they stand absolutely no match. After 1 year of fighting, surrendering to our forces. Our insane construction drive has allowed us to become the most powerful nation in the world. And it allows our economy to support a number of institutions, providing great healthcare, education, and welfare to all. Each citizen works according to their ability and is rewarded according to their needs. And each of our citizens is born equal, although some more equal than others. Our booming economic machine continues to steam ahead. We do seem to have a shortage in sulfur. Thankfully though, there seem to be a number of provinces in East Germany that produce it, which are ripe for the taking. In order to get multiple fronts on the German Empire, we first crush the remnants of the Austrian one, putting the Soviet army in prime position to take East Germany, the German Empire being supported by the Ottoman Empire as well as the United States of America. The war gets off to a rough start, and it seems that we struggle to get an advantage. But once our conscription centres are up and running, we have almost 3,000 troops that we can mobilise. This allows us to push our fronts forward, but at a huge cost to the economy, and we're almost falling into the throes of default. Once the Ottomans capitulate, we're able to redirect all our forces for one final push on Berlin, leading to the surrender of the American forces and finally those of the German Empire, cementing ourselves as world power for many years to come. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Victoria 3 videos and videos for other Paradox games. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.